Hello, everyone. My name is Brenda. I never imagined I would be sharing this part of my life with anyone outside my close circle, but my dear sister-in-law, Kathleen, encouraged me to speak up. She has been an unwavering source of support for me, standing by my side through some of the most challenging moments of my married life. Kathleen and I have always shared a special bond, one that predates even my relationship with my husband, Larry. We worked together before I ever met him, and it was through her that I was introduced to the man who would eventually become my life partner. For that, I will always be grateful to Kathleen. She played an unintentional but vital role in bringing us together, helping us build a beautiful and fulfilling life as a married couple. However, while my relationships with both Kathleen and Larry have been filled with love, support, and mutual respect, the same cannot be said about my relationship with Larry's mother, Grace. From the very moment I met her, she made it abundantly clear that she did not approve of me. It was not through words alone but through her cold stares, passive-aggressive remarks, and dismissive behavior. No matter how hard I tried to win her over, she remained distant and, at times, openly hostile. Even Larry, despite his best efforts, struggled to mend the rift between his mother and me. He always reassured me that she would come around, that with time, she would see how much I loved and cared for him. But years went by, and Grace's resentment only deepened. Her disapproval became more pronounced when Larry and I got engaged. She found fault in everything I did, from our wedding planning to my involvement in family gatherings. The tension between us reached a peak on the day of our wedding. Grace accused me of ruining her dress, an unfounded claim that led to a heated argument between her and Larry. It was devastating to witness how her inability to accept me was not only affecting me but also creating a wedge between her and her son. I tried to remind myself that her behavior stemmed from the deep bond she shared with Larry as a single mother. He was her world, and in her eyes, I was taking him away from her. But did that justify the cruelty and manipulative games she played? The real storm, however, came on our first wedding anniversary. Kathleen, always looking out for me, secretly pulled me aside and confided something deeply unsettling. She had overheard Grace discussing a scheme to publicly humiliate me. Grace's plan was as cruel as it was absurd. She intended to falsely accuse me of stealing a treasured family heirloom, a necklace that had been in the family for generations. I was horrified, unable to comprehend why she would go to such lengths just to disgrace me. Though I was shaken, I decided not to confront Larry about it right away. I felt he needed to see the truth for himself. If I warned him beforehand, he might dismiss it as paranoia, convinced that his mother was incapable of such deceit. The evening of our anniversary arrived, and despite the underlying tension, I held on to the hope that the celebration would go smoothly. Larry had insisted that his mother be present, and I did not object. After all, it was a family occasion. Throughout the night, I remained on high alert, carefully watching Grace's every move, prepared to counteract whatever scheme she had concocted. Everything seemed to be going well until I momentarily stepped away to refill my drink. That was when she cornered me. Her tone was laced with venom as she accused me of driving a wedge between her and Larry. I was taken aback, stunned by the sudden confrontation. She ranted about how I was deliberately turning Larry against her, isolating him from his own mother. I tried to remain composed, reminding myself that she was grasping at straws, desperate to regain control over her son. Kathleen, who had been keeping a close eye on us, quickly came to my side, sensing the brewing storm. Moments later, Grace excused herself, announcing that she would freshen up and put on her jewelry for a few commemorative photos. When she returned, she was visibly distraught, her voice trembling as she proclaimed that her necklace and earrings had vanished. The entire room fell silent as all eyes turned toward her. She dramatically clutched her chest, gasping as she insinuated that the only possible culprit was me. Larry was the first to speak up. "Mom, what are you saying? You probably just misplaced them. It's not like we have strangers here. How could they get stolen?" Grace shook her head, her expression one of exaggerated grief. "No, Larry, I know what I saw. My jewelry was there earlier, and now it's gone. This isn't just some accident. Someone took them, and I have a strong suspicion of who that someone is." She turned and pointed directly at me. Gasps filled the room as whispers spread among the guests. I felt my heart sink. Kathleen immediately stepped forward, her eyes blazing with fury. "You're out of line, Grace," Kathleen snapped. "This is ridiculous. You have no proof. How dare you accuse Brenda of something so awful?" But Grace was relentless. "She's always had an eye on my jewelry," she insisted. "She's envious. She wanted it for herself. Larry, don't be blind. Your wife isn't as innocent as she seems. Larry's expression was a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Mom, stop this, he said firmly. You're making a serious accusation without a shred of evidence. Brenda wouldn't steal from you, you know that. Do I? Grace sneered. Then let's prove it. If she's innocent, she won't mind us checking her things. Let's go look in her room. I am certain we'll find my jewelry there. I was appalled. The humiliation, the violation of my privacy, it was all too much. Larry, we cannot allow this, I pleaded, my voice shaking. This is beyond inappropriate. If we let her do this now, she will never stop trying to ruin me. Larry hesitated. He was torn. He wanted to stand by me, but he also felt pressured to appease his mother. After a long, agonizing pause, he sighed. Fine, he said, we'll check, but I already know we won't find anything. Everyone followed as we headed to our bedroom, the tension suffocating. Grace wasted no time. She stormed into my closet, rummaging through my things until she let out a triumphant cry. In her hands, she held a small jewelry box. Look, she cried. I told you, it's here in her closet. This is undeniable proof. She stole from me. Larry's face twisted in confusion and disbelief. No, this can't be, he murmured. Brenda, you didn't take this, right? I looked at him, my heart breaking. Of course not. Larry, you know me. I would never do this. Someone must have put it there. Grace smirked, satisfied. The evidence speaks for itself. You're nothing but a liar and a thief. Tears welled in my eyes, but I refused to back down. I would not let her destroy my name so easily. One way or another, I would prove the truth. I had completely forgotten about the cameras. Our home is equipped with security cameras in the hallways, which provide a clear view of every room from the outside. Reviewing the footage would reveal the truth once and for all. Why do we need to check the cameras? Larry, I'm your mother. I'm telling you Brenda took my jewelry, and that should be enough. We shouldn't have to prove anything else, Grace exclaimed, her voice tinged with desperation. Larry stood firm. No, Mom, I thought you wanted to get to the bottom of this. I refuse to believe Brenda is a thief, and if you're so sure, we should look at the footage together. I need to see the truth for myself. If you're right, the evidence will be there, but I have a feeling it won't be. Despite Grace's frantic efforts to stop us, I pulled up the saved footage on my phone. The air in the room thickened with tension as everyone prepared to watch the events unfold. The moment of reckoning was upon us. As we sifted through the security footage, the situation took an even more dramatic turn. The police arrived. Someone must have called them amidst the chaos. Grace wasted no time approaching them, pointing a shaking finger at me. Officers, you need to arrest my daughter-in-law. She's a criminal who stole my jewelry. We found it in her closet. You must arrest her now. But I was prepared. I don't think so, Grace, I said, turning to the officers with steady confidence. I have proof that my mother-in-law set me up and is making false accusations against me. One of the officers looked at me carefully. Do you have solid evidence against your mother-in-law? Yes, I do, I replied. Our home is equipped with security cameras. Here's the footage from last night. I handed my phone to the officers, who began reviewing the video. Larry and the others watched in silence as the truth unraveled before them. The footage clearly showed Grace sneaking into her own room, retrieving her jewelry box, and then entering mine when I was out. Moments later, she exited empty-handed, confirming that she had deliberately planted the jewelry in my closet to frame me. Gasps filled the room, and all eyes turned to Grace, who was now frozen in horror. Larry's face twisted in anger and disbelief. Mom, how could you do this? Brenda has done nothing but try to be kind to you, and this is how you repay her. What is wrong with you? Grace, pale and trembling, tried to salvage the situation. Larry, please, let me explain. No, Mom, just no. Larry's voice was sharp, cutting through her desperate plea. I don't want to hear it. You tried to destroy my wife's reputation on our anniversary. I will never forgive you for that. I seriously cannot believe how low you stooped. I'm ashamed to have a mother like you. I think it's best if we cut contact. Kathleen, who had warned me about Grace's manipulative tendencies, nodded in agreement. I tried to tell you, Larry, now you see her true colors. The police, having seen the damning evidence, turned to me. Ma'am, given the circumstances, you have the right to press charges against your mother-in-law for making false accusations and attempting to frame you. I took a deep breath. Yes, I understand. Thank you. One of the officers asked, would you like to proceed with pressing charges? We can take her into custody and file an official report. I looked at Larry, gauging his reaction. Larry, are you okay with this? He didn't hesitate. Brenda, what she did was wrong. You have my full support. As the officers moved toward Grace, she panicked, clutching at Larry's arm, tears streaming down her face. Brenda, please don't do this. I'm your mother-in-law. What will people think if they see me getting arrested? I met her tearful gaze without pity. You didn't care about public opinion when you tried to have me arrested. Why should I care now? You made your choice. Grace, actions have consequences. The police warned her against resisting arrest, but she continued to wail, her voice thick with desperation. The family watched, some shaking their heads in disappointment, others murmuring about how far she had gone. Not a single person stood by her. The reality of her isolation sank in as the officers placed handcuffs on her wrists. I'm sorry, Brenda, I shouldn't have done this. We're family, we can solve this without the police. Grace sobbed, her voice cracking with regret. I let out a weary sigh. Grace, you once told me that criminals should not be spared because they might become worse. Well, now that logic applies to you. I'm making sure you face the consequences of your actions. She looked utterly shocked as I repeated her own words back to her. The police escorted her out, her cries still echoing in the air. The guests murmured their approval, understanding that justice had been served. Larry and I accompanied the officers to the police station to file a formal report, while Kathleen stayed back to manage the aftermath of the night's events. At the station, I turned to Larry one last time. Are you absolutely sure about this? If you have any doubts, we can still reconsider. Larry met my gaze with unwavering determination. No, Brenda, we're not turning back. She tried to ruin your life. I can't ignore that. You know I never doubted you for a second, right? I nodded, feeling the weight of the night settle over us. I know, Larry, this isn't your fault. It's entirely on her. Larry's eyes darkened with regret, but also with resolve. I should have protected you from her sooner. I just never thought my own mother would go this far, but now I see her for who she really is. Filing the report was a difficult but necessary decision. It was the only way to ensure that Grace faced the consequences of her deceit. More than that, it was a step toward protecting our future, one where Larry and I could live in peace, free from his mother's toxic manipulations.